Alright guys, let's go ahead and talk about inheriting and duplicating streams. So here we're having a look at how to close file descriptors. And guys, a file descriptor is the location of a file entry that the kernel provides and creates in a global file table. Meaning that all a file descriptor is a pointer to where the system stores a file. Okay? So it could be any number. It can be 5, 6, 32, 332. All those are different file descriptors, and they point to where the file is located on the system, and that number is stored on something called a global file table. So here, we'll look at how the input file descriptor n is closed. So we use the minus sign or dash, the ampersand symbol, less than, and n. Okay, so this is closing input file descriptor n, closing the input for the file descriptor n. Here we're closing the standard input, so we use the minus sign, ampersand, less than sign, and then we use the minus sign, ampersand sign, less than sign, and 0, right? Because standard input is 0, right? And standard output is 1, and standard error is 2, okay? So we're closing the standard input here. Here we're closing the output of file descriptor n. So flipping it this way closes the input, right? Don't send it that way. Don't input it into n. And on here we're closing the output, so don't send it this way. Or output. We're closing the output. Okay. Here we're closing the standard out, right? Because as we said, 0 is standard in, 1 is standard out, and 2 is standard error. Okay. So here we have an example of that. So child processes inherit open file descriptors, and this is why pipes work. To prevent a file descriptor from being inherited, close it. Okay? So here we have an example of that. So we're redirecting standard error to a pipe. So we use the exec command 3, which in this case is going to be the file descriptor. So we're saving the current value of standard out to 3. In here we're running the ls command -l. Okay, and we're saying redirect the standard error and the standard output. We're going to close here the file descriptor of it. And we're saving it in 3 here, so we're redirecting this ls-l file descriptor 3, but we're closing the output of that, so it's not getting sent into this. And here we're closing the output of grep. So we close file descriptor 3 for grep, but not ls. And then here we're closing it for the remainder of the script, which we see here, okay? So this is used to duplicate input file descriptors. If word expands to 1 or more digits, the file descriptor denoted by n is made to be a copy of that file descriptor. If the digits in word do not specify a file descriptor open to input, a redirection error occurs. If word evaluates to dash file descriptor, n is closed. If n is not specified, the standard input, which is file descriptor 0, right, standard n is 0, is used. Okay. Now we're flipping the sign. So before we had it going to the left, or less than sign. Here we have it going to the right, or greater than sign. So this is used similarly to duplicate output file descriptors. If n is not specified, the standard output, which is file descriptor 1, is used. If the digits in Word do not specify a file descriptor open for output, a redirection error occurs. If Word evaluates to minus sign, file descriptor n is closed. As a special case, if n is omitted and Word does not expand to 1 or more digits or dash, excuse me, the standard output and standard error are redirected as described previously. So guys, take note, read your course materials for more in-depth discussions and examples of input and output redirections and pipes. Alright, so we took a very brief look at these. Okay. So definitely look at more of the course materials and spend a little bit more time looking at them on your own to really get this concept kind of cemented in your minds, right? Because we just scratched the surface here on these, right? So take a little bit of time on your own to read those additional course materials.